Panthers win, Vegas lose. Catch you guys next week. All right, all right, guys. We got a quick reaction to the Panthers Vegas game. Really entertaining game, very fun to watch, especially with the win for the Panthers. Great first period, about as good a first period you're gonna see in the NHL this season. I think the Panthers are kind of, if there's a consistency other than not scoring, that's one of them. They're great in first periods, right?
Marie's got them ready to play, bro.
Yeah, and they finally break through in the third period. Vegas got a couple of cheap goals. Basically, they're both on Ekblad.
Yeah, he owes people some drinks. It's like,
yeah, and you can tell in the
he decided
second
to
one.
become vintage. I've been praising him and saying how great he's been and all that, and
On
all of a
defense.
sudden he's like, yeah, let me just like do my best impression of myself and Uyghur from 2 years ago.
Yeah, and the second one, like it was late in the shift. He was tired.
He shouldn't have gone for that hit. He's just like he's not a smart player, man. Like Ekblad on defense is just not smart. So anyway, he needs to simplify the game. And then the first one, it was like a Uyghur, reminded me of Uyghur and the playoffs against Tampa. Like no need to go behind the net. Like Forsling has his guy, and anyway, it's just
he could have stayed by the side of the net, and then when that puck goes to the front for Mark Stone, he can just face the shot, and help Bob out. I mean.
Yeah, that's going to show up in the video. He's gonna get lit up for that, so that's good. Yeah,
he knows. Bob had a solid game. Bobrovsky made a really good save there in the third. We were texting back and forth, mentioned that, and Verhaeghe's been playing really well, man. That second line has actually been playing well. Bennett is on there. We have some really good players, some really feisty guys. We just need scoring.
Yeah, Bennett shows up for these kinds of games. I mean, that's the frustrating part. They outplayed the Blues. They outplayed Calgary. And the difference was, we couldn't get these kind of key goals. And then the power play goals in the third. Everything in this game is everything we've talked about, right? Dominating the first period, like complete domination. And you would think that Vegas would come in sort of ready to play after having lost back-to-back with allowing a lot of goals, knowing that this was a rematch from the finals. And trying to get a win. They had lost 3 out of 4, and they almost made a comeback with against Tampa. So anyway, like you would have expected them to at least just put up a fight. And early on, it was like 20 shots to 2 the first period. But then of course they scored the first goal, and we stayed composed. We didn't panic. We tied it, took the lead. They tied it late with mistake. You would think that's a killer. We came out in the third, still focused, actually playing smart, drew the penalties, playing hard. They were frustrated. Vegas was frustrated. It took some bad penalties, man. And then we made them pay, which is what you have to do. That's what Tampa does. That's what Colorado does. That's even what the Leafs do. Like, you got to be smart. You got to score on the power play. And then you put the game away. We're a good defensive team. Stay composed. Don't take bad penalties. Even if you take one, then the goalie gives you the save that you need. And then at the end, he just goes crazy, which is the way we like it. With Tkachuk and Bennett just, punching people in the face. And Mark Stone, you kind of got everything you wanted. You got to beat them. You got to beat them by beating them on the score and also by beating them physically. And, that punch by Lomberg, bro. If people who didn't watch this game, go watch that Lomberg replay. That was you told me it was a Machida, the other Machida, like counter punch, perfect time. Just like knocked the guy out.
Yeah, it was just perfectly placed. Like it wasn't even that hard. He just kind of went through it.
2 seconds. Yeah, it was like perfect.
Kind of hit him.
I wonder if Lomberg take boxing lessons. That was too perfect of a punch. And anyway, like at the end, Tkachuk doing his thing and Bennett doing his thing, Montour like getting into it, winning the fights, winning the scrambles, and then Mark Stone losing his shit at the end of the game is perfect because then you really got to them, right? That when Mark Stone, their captain and the guy who's the leader. And a guy who's willing to fight and a physical guy, like he's losing his mind at the bench, and the Panthers are laughing at him, and Montour's yelling at him. So anyway, it's the win we needed right before the break. We had been playing well in a lot of these games, just not breaking through, man. And we needed this. Hopefully, it carries them through the break, and then against Tampa, that's another game on the road that we should get up for. So we needed this one, man.
Yeah, we needed this one, and this is like. If there's an argument to be made of why you want to keep most of these guys together, this will be it. It just looks ugly when we lose. When we lose, it's kind of like, well, do we really need, Bennett? Do we really want to spend the money on him? Do you really want to pay Montour? I mean, pay Forsling. Forsling was incredible. On the second period, he makes a defensive stop, takes the puck, goes all the way down, gets a little bit of a breakaway, doesn't have a lot of space, has to go on the backhand, barely misses the goal. He was playing amazing. He's been so consistent for this team. I mean, I think he and Barkov are probably our two most consistent players in terms of what they bring every night. You kind of know what you're going to get with them. Yeah, he was great. The whole defense was great. The team, like, they stayed disciplined. No bad penalties other than, Bennett holding the stick or whatever. It was there for them to lose it. And that's kind of like, I kind of thought that that's where it was going. But that's all they have to do, man. That's another thing, right? The power play. Let's get into that real quick. When a team is struggling like this, the power play can save you, man. And just back to back, I mean, both goals in the third were on the power play. And just get it to the net at this point, or get it to the right guy. But yeah, the team needs to score. We need to be able to find a way to score, make the extra pass if you have to, give it to Reinhardt, whoever has the hot hand, Verhaeghe, Reinhardt. They've been carrying the team for a while now. So yeah, special teams always matter. And yeah, man, it was a great win. It was feisty. This is a Panthers signature style game,
Yeah, man. I think it's what we needed. I think it shows you that you do prioritize. I think Forsling, maybe Montour, if the contract's reasonable, and Bennett. Bennett's a guy that I think even if eventually becomes your third line center, just from a culture perspective and what they can bring in the playoffs and the fact that they're still in their late 20s, like you try to keep those guys. I think Reinhardt and Verhaeghe, that scoring can be replaced. I think that. That Reinhardt's going to crash down to earth, going forward at some point. He's still going to give you 20 to 30 goals, but I think you can get, Mackey can give you 20 to 30 maybe in a couple of years. Verhaeghe can be replaced by a free agent who's a better skater and shooter. There are ways to supplement that. It's much harder to replace what Bennett gives you. It's much harder to replace what Montour and Forsling can give you, and at the back, especially Forsling. So, you're going to have to make those compromises. But I think these kinds of games kind of show you that maybe these are the guys you have to really prioritize, even if Bennett is not giving you a ton of scoring. So what you do is you try to make sure you don't overpay for Bennett, and then you bring some other wingers who can score. So that Bennett's not the guy that has to give you the goals, maybe. But then in these kinds of games, when he gives up for them, he might be the guy hitting people, punching people, and scoring. And he's done that in the playoffs too. And so anyway, like, it's clear that the team is good. It's clear that even when we lose, most of those games when we lose, we tend to outplay the opposition, and that it speaks to the system. I told you, I think Marisa's system is elite, man. Like, it's, it hides a lot of warts. It hides the fact that our bottom six still can score. So, to me, we have the system. We have some key players. They're becoming more veterans now. The fact that we've looked good, we have looked good in some of these really tough games. And, Edmonton's still winning, and, we went and punched them, and we win this game against Vegas. And, we outshot Vancouver on the road 15-1 in that third period, the game that we lost. And so, these are like legit playoff teams now, right? That we are actually like dominating entire periods. It's rare that somebody does that to us, right? Like, when's the last time somebody has outshot us 20-2? So that even in a stinker game like the Kraken, like, that was not the case. So anyway, to me, it's a statement win in many ways. It's a message to the league, to the East. Like, this is why people say they don't want to play the Panthers in the playoffs. We just got to get scoring. We still got to get a third line winger. We got to get Lundell and Lusty scoring and going offensively. The fourth line with Gadjevich in there maybe will give us a little bit more offense. And then see what we're going to do. But, OEL, man, is playing well. Like, OEL is the guy that I'm like, man, is he going to stick? I know he got bought out. I don't know how much money he's still going to make from his buyout, because his contract was like until 26, 27. And I don't know how to look it up on Cap Friendly, like what the buyout is. I guess you can see how much he's getting. But he's getting like $2 million a year, I think, until like 2030 or something. I think it's what he says here.
They save $6 million. They still have to pay him 12.
Yeah, so that's what it looks like. It looks like he's getting paid $2 million for like 6 years or whatever. So, if it's willing to stick around with the Panthers for 3 to 4 mil, man, and make that 5 to 6 mil a year to live in South Florida for the next 3 years, he's been good, man. On that third pairing, he's a perfect guy. Enough offense, not too liable on defense. In this kinds of games, this is where you would think that he would be the one making the Ekblad mistake, you know what I'm saying? And he's not. So anyway, like I think we have a really, really solid team, a little bit more scoring, and then getting some of these guys who've struggled going and we are legit contenders this year, man. We have to be, unless there's like crazy injuries at the end of the season. So yeah, man. So I mean, it was intense there. It was tense, man, but
yeah, really good, first and third period. And this is really the only way that you can have a complete game in the NHL. There's no way you can just attack for full 60 or whatever. So the idea is that if Panthers should have gone up by a couple goals in the first period, and then you kind of hold home base. You hold the fort there in the second, and then you try to put it away in the third if it needs to get to that point. This is the only way. And the break was coming. They left it all on the ice today. That was a really good effort. And even against the Blues, man, it was a really good effort too. It was just sloppy, and they kind of got away from the game.
And nothing went in, man. We hit like 3 posts, and some of them were like posts that should have gone in. That game was weird and fluky, and just there was a bad turnovers, that made us pay, which we didn't really, even Ebla wasn't really a turnover, it's just a positional thing, both goals. But and it's gonna happen. I mean, it's Vegas, like these teams are elite, so you're not gonna shut them out. Like that's gonna be hard unless they don't fully show up. But yeah, they look tired, and we took advantage. And I think we needed the win. I think that we have to build on it. We have Tampa coming up. We have some a couple Eastern games. We have a back-to-back at home against Rangers and Montreal, or the other way around. And then we go on that West trip, which is the last sort of trip we have. We're going to see Vegas again, I think, on that trip, right? Am I right or wrong? Yeah, so that's going to be – we better get Gadjevas and Lawrence in there.
It's going to be feisty.
And Kachuk better watch his back. But yeah, it's going to be a couple of fights in that game. But and that's okay if you lose, because that once you get this, you can lose that on the road and it's not going to matter. But yeah, we got to get through these next 3. I think we try to beat Tampa. We try to win at least one of the 2 back-to-backs at home. I think both games are winnable, even with the Rangers. And then on that trip, I think try to go 2-2. You have Coyotes, you have the Blues again. We got to smack them. And then, maybe if you lose the Avalanche and Vegas is okay. And then after that, it's mostly Eastern teams. And then the Western teams you do face, I think, are mostly at home. I think it's just a couple. And then finally, we get to play a bunch of Eastern teams, which I'm dying to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, we got to get going. We got to finish, reach the halfway point, kind of that third place. And then second half of the season should be easier, like travel-wise and schedule.
Yeah, and by then you hope you find your game. In this case, we already have our game because we're carrying over from the playoffs and last year. So you hope that in the second half you can get some scoring. I'm sure Zito might make a move or two to get a scorer, maybe bring on Mackey if they feel he's ready, whatever the move is. Yeah, something to keep an eye on tonight. Panther fans, so the Toronto Maple Leafs play the Blue Jackets. They're right ahead of us. Right now we're ahead of them, I think. But they have a few games in hand, I think 3. They play tonight, the Lightning play tonight, and the Bruins play tonight. Those are the kind of the teams you want to monitor if you're a Panthers fan and you want to keep track of the standings and what we need. And we've been kind of lucky because Tampa has been off and the Red Wings have kind of fallen off a little bit. So that's kind of kept us in the top 3.
Yeah, the Atlantic has been rough for everybody, so that helps the Panthers. And at the end of the day, our offense is as bad as it can be. I mean, we had like 20-something goals under expected scored. And tonight, I'm sure, with all the chances we had, it's probably we scored it right around where we should have scored. No cheap goals or whatever. So I think it can only get better. Kachuk is still not going scoring wise. I think, Lundell and Lustrainen, they've shown in the past that they can get going. They just got to figure that out. I think we'll see that in the second half. And then, like you said, Cito's going to make a move or two. We're going to try to get a little bit of scoring in, maybe keep that top 6 with the defense like intact with Mahura. I saw the Mahura as an RFA, so maybe you don't trade him, you keep him and you try to re-sign him again because you might need him as a 6th or 7th guy. But anyway, I like where we are. We needed the win. Much better to take the break. And Tampa is a game usually on the road where we're going to get up, after the holiday break, and Tampa will be coming out of the same break, so there'll be no advantages there. And it'll be an interesting game, I think, that battle before we play the back-to-back at home. So yeah, man, excited. We'll watch the Tampa game, and then we'll do our video on next Friday. And then, yeah, I'm going to watch the Leafs tonight. Just, they might win 7-0. They might lose 6-5 in overtime. You never know with the Leafs. That's why you got to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, we'll keep an eye around the league. And yeah. All right, guys. Like Dario mentioned, Tampa comes next. Those games are always fun. Whether we win or it gets a little feisty, we'll see how it goes. And
yeah. And if you just happen to stumble on this video reaction for Vegas and Florida, go check out the highlights, the full highlights with the fights and the scrambles.
If not, you can go on Twitter or X and all the NHL pages are airing the punch and all the stuff and all the feisty stuff. It's always fun.
Fun game, man. All right,
all right, guys. Catch you guys next time.